There we go. Finally got a good setup to work for making videos on my nighttime walks. Anyways, give me a second. Let's switch our hands. I know I said that I was going to put the video out today about the 13 life lessons or something, but that is taking me longer than I thought it was going to take to edit, and it's actually very, very dense. And I spent an hour working on it this morning. You only got like 6 minutes into the edited version, but you'll see that, and hopefully they'll be out in the next week. But in the meantime, one thing I want to talk about, and I'm not sure if this applies to everyone, but like, at least the people who have ADHD, I know this applies to them. So I think it might apply to everyone. But it's like, whenever you have like a lot of work to get done, at least I have this desire to like, or this idea that's gonna be easier if I take like more caffeine, if I take a little bit more Adderall, if I do like, I don't know, if I do this specific morning routine or something. And it's just like, it's weird because like when you take more caffeine, one thing I've noticed is now you're really energized, and like one of the last things you actually want to do is sit your butt down and actually work, because you have all this energy. You're like, I can do anything, let's do everything, and then you get nothing done. But my advice for correcting that is to first start the work, build the momentum of working, and then slowly sip on the drink of your choice. Just please don't use energy drinks. The artificial sweeteners in there will destroy your gut and are horrible for your brain, and actually what causes a lot of the crashing. If you take caffeine pills instead, you do not get crashes. Again, this is like 200 milligrams of caffeine pills. Don't take like 800 milligrams of caffeine pills and be like, I got a crash. He said I wasn't going to crash. Your body's not meant to take that much caffeine. It's freaking insane. Like, naturally with coffee, I mean, even the coffee these days is pretty strong, but like green tea, black tea, drink as much of that as you want. It's going to help you focus, and you're not going to get any crashing. Anyways, I was thinking what to talk about today. I was driving by and just driving around, and one of the ideas that came to my head from the podcast I was watching was they were talking about how you can't control the first thought that pops into your head, but what you can do is control the second thought. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, holy crap, like that's exactly how I quit smoking. I couldn't control the first thought that popped in my head. The first thought was, let's get some nicotine. Like, let's go hit a bong full of nicotine. Let's get like a bunch of nicotine patches and line them up all over my forearms. Like, you know, like if you've ever been addicted to nicotine, the typical thoughts you have. And then the second thought was, that's really stupid. Why would I do that? I'm happy to be free. And I literally had to like keep repeating that thought over and over and over in my head, because I kept having the thought of, let's do nicotine. And then I'm like, no, I'm happy to be free. And eventually what they're talking about in the podcast is how by repeating that, you eventually start to change how your mind thinks and change what the first thought that actually pops into your mind is. And this not only applies to quitting any substance that you'd want to quit or any habits that you want to quit. This also applies to fears. Fear of public speaking, fear of starting your own business. I mean, one of the great things that he talked about on the podcast is, and I'm completely guilty of not doing this, he's like, whenever you think of the future, we typically think of the fears. I need to switch hands. There we go. Carry my flip-flops too, so I can walk barefoot and ground myself, so it's a little tricky right now. Yeah, he's just talking about how we typically think of the fears, and I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of what it is. Like, when you think of the future, you typically think of what could go wrong. I don't remember the last time I thought, like, maybe 2 weeks ago, last time I thought of, imagine everything that could go amazing. Where's that? Like, it's just, I mean, I know you need a balance of the two, because being hyper optimistic versus being what we call a realist, there needs to be a balance in the middle of being able to plan for the future and hope for the best, but also have like some degree of contingency plans in place. But the issue arises whenever you think of the future, you just constantly are coming up with contingency plans for all the possible things that could go wrong. And you really, unless you're hitting like a 50-50 ratio between the positive and the negative, I think that should even be higher skewed towards the positive, where it's like a 70-30 for positive versus negative. I would recommend doing this, and this is going to be something I'm going to be doing in the future, where when I have a thought of like, oh, this could go wrong, I'm going to then have the second thought of, imagine how great my future could be if this goes completely right and goes to plan. Because no matter what it is, like even wrestling with shooting, like I finally, after 8 years of wrestling, I finally got over my fear, hey guys, of shooting. And the main thing with that was the fear of, what if he sprawls at me and he scores a point because I messed up my shot? And that fear completely like immobilized me and made me have to practice my head shrugs and all my throws. And I got really, really good at that and went all the way to all states with it. But like, still, you have to think of what could go right. And guess what? By taking a lot of shots now in jiu-jitsu and practicing it, I'm like, okay, I mess up, so what? I take a shot, it fails, I grab his choking hand and I make sure that he doesn't choke me out. That's it. It's really not that difficult. And yes, jiu-jitsu doesn't have some competitions in the gym, you don't really have the point system, so you're getting taken down, so you don't lose points. So it's really, as long as you don't get choked out, you're fine. But the idea of being able to then take shots and not necessarily always be thinking about what could go wrong, I think also plays into the idea I had with the Prey to Predator video. I'll link that at the end. But it basically talks about how I was in Europe, thought it would be a brilliant idea to take a shortcut through the Alps, got completely lost, and then saw a giant paw print, and then started to freak out due to how late it was and how little sun there was. And during this time, I was like, oh shit, something's gonna come and eat me. And then the second thought that popped into my head was, I'm gonna kill this thing. Just completely irrational, like probably would go down and get absolutely mauled to death by a wolf or a bear. But I just had the thought of, you know what? I would really love a bearskin rug. If I see this thing, I'm gonna kill it. And really that mindset switch started to allow me to see my surroundings and got rid of the tunnel vision I was experiencing from the fear. So that kind of plays in with the wrestling of, when you're afraid to even take the shot, you don't see the shots that you can't take. When you're afraid to do something, when you're afraid of the possible outcomes in business, when you're looking for everything that could go wrong, you don't quite see the opportunities for stuff to go right. And I don't want to miss those, so I'm working on my mindset, I'm working on my thoughts and controlling those in order to improve. Anyways, I'm going to link the video right here for talking about how talking about the Prey to Predator video. So go check that out, and it's probably gonna be up in tomorrow because I'm filming this on my phone right now and I can't exactly do end screen tags on my phone. But anyways, peace out.